What is happening, guys? Welcome to my First Berserker, no spoilers, beginner guide. I first want to say there's going to be absolutely no spoilers in this video. You're only going to see the training grounds, and you might see the hub a little bit later when I start to explain some things there, and then you're going to see maybe like some of the demo area, but there's going to be no spoilers in this video whatsoever. Now, since we got that out of the way, I'm not going to lie, guys. This game is tough as nails. This is a very, very tough game. I'm about 15 hours in right so far, working my way through the campaign myself. But I just decided to make a little bit of a beginner guide for you guys just coming into the series, just because this game does throw a lot at you for a Souls game. When you just look at this game, it looks pretty basic. You have gear and you attack enemies, and that's about it. But there's a lot more to it than that. There's combos with your weapons that you can do, and it can get overwhelming if you're not very well prepared to learn all that. Especially, if you're just coming from a game where you're used to a light attack and a heavy attack. This game is a lot more than that. But hopefully after this little beginner guide today, you guys will start off First Khazan in the best way as possible, so let's get started. First thing we're going to talk about is some settings that I recommend changing just to make you have a better experience. The first one is under graphics. I would say turn this one off, screen shake. This game, if you keep this on the way it's standard, the screen is going to be shaking all over. You're going to miss a lot of parries. It's a lot more going on than it needs to be. I would recommend just turning that off altogether. When it comes to the overall optimization of this game, it's fantastic. You can run this thing. I'm using a 3060 RTX, and I have this thing on high. Some things are set on medium, but the basis is all set on high for me. And I'm using DLSS, and I'm set on DirectX, and I'm set on quality, and I am just getting a flat, nice 60 FPS all around the board. The game runs beautifully. Very, very well optimized. The next thing we're going to do is adjust your controls a bit to make it more Souls oriented. For some reason, this game standard default type is not very well done, in my opinion. You use Y and X and weird buttons. If you go into controller configuration, change this to type B, and then you can thank me later. Type B is like your average Souls game. You have a light attack, you have a heavy attack, block is with LB, that's also deflect. Aimed range attack is with LT, so that feels really smooth. It just feels awesome compared to A, which is type A is just, it's a mess. Look at that. You're dodging with A, which feels weird, and all kinds of weird stuff. I could not figure this out for the life of me. Thank goodness they put in B. Highly recommend. Just change that to B and leave it there. A few other settings you might want to look at is auto lock on. You might want that on or off. Play with it. You might want damage display on. Mess with around how you want your HUD to look. If you have a problem with spiders, might want to look at that. Also, helm display if you don't like helms. I always turn helms off in games. I like to see my character's face. You can turn that off. And if you just want to see it on while you play, you can turn this on, and then helm display during cutscene. You can leave that off. And then during cutscenes, your character will just show his face. Just two quality of life options there that are really nice. Looking at the main menu, I'm just going to explain this real quick. It's pretty basic. They did a real good job of laying this out in a real nice way. But if you click on gear, you could easily adjust all your equipment in here. You just click on it. It tells you its stats. It's going to tell you stats and how those sets work, and we'll talk about that later today. The accessories, like talismans in normal games, and then your hotkey items. You can put hotkey items in here for your health or for other options other than health and whatnot, just so you can quickly tab into them. And then your netherworld energy is your lives, how many lives you have. If we look at inventory is just going to tell you everything you have. Since I'm in the training ground right now, it's only telling me a few things. This is usually a lot more stuff, but you can figure that out on yourself. Next up is a skill tree. So usually in Souls games, we don't have skill trees. Well, you have one in this game, and I will explain that later on because this is very daunting, but there's definitely some recommendations I have to make your life a lot easier. One really cool thing this game has is a status. So you click on status, it's going to just tell you your overall update. It's going to say your level, it's going to say all your points, where they're put in. It's going to tell you all your basic stats, so you can run all your math and figure out what you need. It's just an all-around quality of life thing that's just really cool, and it's all in just one place right under stats. Under that is encyclopedia. If you ever have questions about what things mean in this game, I have used this so much. It's so nice. If you wonder, like, oh, what is upgrade stats, which obviously we know, but just for example, it says, Lackersmans can be used to upgrade Khazan stats. Like, awesome. Like, anytime you have a question, it's going to be in here. Tells you about status effects. I've used this thing so much. So it's very, very handy to have. I'm very happy that they put this in here. It's a small quality of life thing, but very, very useful. And that's the main menu. So let's talk about a little bit about the controls. So controls, very, very basic to your normal Souls. You have RB, you have your light attack, you can chain that into more light attacks. You have your heavy attack, you can charge that, and all that good stuff. Attacks are very easy. Block with LB. All this is real standard. You also have a javelin that you can use, but I don't have it here since I'm in the training ground. Actually, it's because I don't have spirit, but nonetheless, it's not a huge deal. And then you can sprint, nothing too complicated when in terms of basic combat. Now, obviously, a little later, we will talk about skills, and we'll talk about how you can chain stuff and create a build around how you like to play. So let's go into the skill tree. Let's explain what this is, because when you first power this in, or power up this skill tree, you're looking at a bunch of stuff and you're like, oh my gosh, where the heck do I even put my points? What I recommend before you do anything with whatever sword or whatever dual wield weapon or spear you want to use, I recommend going to common. And I recommend filling out a few of these. So get your first one in resources. What this is going to do is gain 1 spirit charge when interacting with a Lackerma. I want you to get 1 in reflection. And now reflection is the parry mechanic in this game. Now the parry mechanic is very, very risk reward based. Very risky, but if you hit it right, very rewarding. I can't get this for the life of me on normal. Like for some reason, I just can't get the timing right on this, but if you like to reflect things, I definitely recommend using this. Now, even if you don't like to parry, I recommend putting this in. The reason why is because LB and RT is how you do this move. So basically this and this. Now, you're going to be automatically hitting LB throughout fights to deflect. That's how you deflect in this game like Sekiro. Now, the thing is, you're also going to be throwing in heavy attacks and light attacks with that. So sometimes in my playthrough anyway, what has happened is I'll be going from a parry to a heavy attack and I'll accidentally trigger the parry and I'll nail the parry perfect and it will totally stagger the enemy. So by accident, it's worth it to have this on because you might accidentally trigger reflection at a perfect time. And also, if you don't trigger it, the cool thing is when you trigger reflection, it does mitigate some of the health that you would have taken from that attack that you would have got hit with. So it's good to just have on either way. Definitely put a point in that. And then you can decide yourself if you want to go down that tree or whatnot. Next one I do recommend is putting Brutal Attack Execution on. That's just a nice one to have. Javelin, this is automatically on when you unlock it. This is the something you can throw for range attacks. That's automatically going to be on. And then Counterattack. So Counterattack for me, I have gotten really good at these. I have practiced these, and I have gotten really decent. So for me, I do use these quite a bit. So I did level this up to the max on 2 out of 2, increase the damage of counterattacks. Basically, this is like your Mikiri counter from Sekiro. So if you play Sekiro and you got really good at Mikiri counter, this is that in this game. It feels really satisfying to pull off. It staggers the enemy. It just feels awesome. So if you're into that kind of thing, look into counterattack. And those are the skills right off the bat that I recommend getting first. So before you get anything else, at least fill out a few of these. I also, too, if you want to, you could put in some of these. I don't know why I don't have these in there, but anyway, you can put these in there if you want. Gain spirit upon taking damage, gain spirit upon performing a brink dodge. Brink dodges are deflections. So deflections, when you hear me say deflect, that's a brink dodge. Increase the amount of spirit gain upon performing a brink guard. See, these are just little quality life things. This tree, the common tree, is just that. So I recommend just getting the basics, and then however you play, whatever your play style is, then maybe making your way toward the end of that. Another good thing is you gain points very fast in this game. You'll be able to fill these trees out very quickly. The next thing we need to talk about is the weapons. So we have dual wield weapons, we have a great sword, and we have a spear. Starting off with dual wield. So dual wield, you have two weapons, usually an axe and a sword. Sometimes they vary what you use, but through what other weapons you pick up. But they're going to be something pertaining close to this. This is a very basic, I would say this is the medium style of playing. So basically, if I wanted to sum this up, I would say the hardest way to play this game would probably be with dual wielding. The second hardest would be with greatsword, and the easiest would be a spear. So in terms of easiest to hardest, I would say spear is your easiest, greatsword is your next easiest, and then dual wield is going to be hardest. Now this can vary depending on the player. For me personally though, I just can't get dual wield to do what I want it to do. I've seen people just wreck bosses with dual wield, but I just personally am not that good at it, so you're going to have to try it out yourself. But this is, it's a very, short range combat style, tying in basic light attacks and heavy attacks together. Obviously I don't have that skill tree filled out right now, so I can't show you all those combos, but that is the dual wield. Next up we have my baby, and that is the good old greatsword. If you know me, you know I like giant swords, and this sword is definitely like no other. Honestly, I love the combat with the greatsword. It took it a while to flow for me, but the combos and how things feel, and with parrying, you still have your light attacks, your heavy attacks. Obviously, I have a little bit more stuff because I've leveled this up. But if you're looking for more of a style with parrying and then attacking, I think greatsword is more for you. And not just parrying, but also blocking. I feel like this is a great style to block, a great weapon to get to just block with and then attack with. Because the greatsword itself has a skill that you can actually block and then get attacks off real quick, which we'll talk about. But this is basically the second easiest thing, or easiest thing I would say to play. And last but not least, we have the boss killing weapon, the spear. The spear is what I've used to kill pretty much everything up to what I've done so far in my Let's Play. I've killed I've killed all the bosses with the spear. Even though I've been maining the greatsword, I've been switching to the spear for every boss fight just because of how good it is. This thing is just so good, especially for newer players to Khazan. This is kind of how I got into the game. In the demo, I fell in love with the spear. It just has an all-around. You can dodge great with it. You can perfect deflect with it. You can just retaliate really quick with it and everything. It feels really, really good. And usually I'm not a spear user in a game, but this spear is just an awesome design spear. The weapon is just very brutal, and it tears bosses apart. If you're struggling with this game, try out the spear and level into that, and you might change your mind on the game. This thing just tears things apart. So another thing, you're never tied into a weapon. When you notice how I said I was using the greatsword for like clearing levels because I like how it feels for that, and then using the spear for bosses. The cool thing is in your skill tree, you can always reset your points. You can always just hover over them and say, "Oh, I don't want to know this anymore. I can just press Y. I can unlearn this skill." You can do this as many times as you want. There's no cost. So just like Wukong. Black Myth Wukong, you could do that in that game. You can do it in this game. If you wanted to clear all your skills at once, you're just going to tap down the left stick. It's going to say, would you like to reset all the skills? Fine. It's free. You can do it as many times as you want. So the only thing I don't like about this is you can't save your sets. So basically, let's say I have this set up perfectly for my greatsword right now. I can't save this set and go to a spear set and use a spear and then be like, oh, I just want to reload my set. I wish there was a way to save this set so that I could make a spear class and also a dual wield set so I could just switch between them when I needed them. Sadly, you have to reallocate your stats every time. So that can be a little bit annoying, especially before a boss fight. You're like, oh, I want to use a spear. Great. Now I got to spend some time looking at what I did. And what I personally did was I just took screenshots. I took screenshots on my computer. Just when I got my build that I wanted for the bosses, I was like, I screenshotted it, be like, okay, this is the boss build. This is my running through level build. You're never tied into a weapon though, so don't think you're only have to use what you start with. I've used every weapon in the game so far in my Let's Play, even though I really do like the greatsword, so don't feel tied in. So a little bit about how these are structured. So you notice you have swift attack, you have potent blow, you have unbreakable, overrun, guard. Now each one's going to be named a little bit different. Dual wield, you're going to have frenzy in here. Penetrate, spear, you're going to have chain, and shrewd. It's overall very easy to understand this. Basically, this is all your light attacks. These are all your heavy attacks. This is your special class depending on the weapon you're using. This is going to be your your dodging class. So your dodging setup. So if you are a dodging centric player and you don't like deflecting, this would be what you use. And if you are a guarding / parry centric user, you would use this one. Or you can use them both. That's another cool thing about this game. You can use perfect dodges or perfect parries, or perfect deflects. It's up to you. So I've used both. When I use spear, I use this category. When I use when I use greatsword, sorry about that. When I use greatsword, I use this category. But that's just basically how each one is laid out. You have your light attack, heavy attack, special, layer, and then your dodging centric, and then your guarding / deflect centric. So when you're making a build, I would definitely put points into your quick attack, because that's obviously going to be used. You know, quick attack is fast to get off. It does pretty decent damage. You definitely want to build that out. Depending on how many heavy attacks you do, you want to throw in some points into that. Also, you know, once you get more points and stuff and you want to use more skills and make your stuff look more flashy, I would spec into the middle tree for whatever weapon you use. And then depending more on how, if you guard or dodge, you can spec into that. So it's real easily laid out on here. You can build your builds exactly how you like. And like I said, you get points really fast in this game. You can spec into these trees and fill some of these out almost, you know, within the first 3 chapters. So now we're going to talk about spirit. Now you heard me reference spirit before. Spirit are those little golden diamonds right above my health bar. So you have your spirit gauge, your health bar, and your stamina gauge. Now the spirit gauge is how you can use spirit skills. Also tied into that is how you can use your javelin. So your javelin is just a really cool feature they gave you in this game. You can pull it out instantaneously by pushing left trigger, and then the right trigger fires it off. So find your enemy and then just shoot it off. It actually does a lot of damage. Surprisingly, I mean, you can headshot enemies and knock out ranged things in one hit. But as you see, I use Spirit to do that. So Spirit is gained if you've played Wulong Fallen Dynasty by the same way. You attack and perfect parrying, or perfect deflects. That is how you build your Spirit gauge up. Now you can spec into the skill tree on this, on your common, and get more for that too. Gain Spirit upon performing a perfect brink dodge. Like I said before, brink dodges are your deflects. Very easy to pull off. You know, this is a deflect. You're going to see me do that in a little bit here. But that is how you can build your spirit back. So if we find an enemy here, let me see if I can find somebody here. Run down this pathway. This is all just for stuff from the demo, so I'm not spoiling anything big. You've probably played the demo, and if you haven't, then I mean, this is just nothing too crazy. Hopefully I can find an enemy here. Gotta be some enemies up here somewhere.
Where is he?
Alright. So when you bring guard, that is a perfect parry. So as you see, now I'm killing him because I have the skill on called... well, on your greatsword, you have this awesome skill that kills people for perfect parries. Deals damage to enemies when performing a brink guard. I probably should take that off to demonstrate all this, but as you see, I did that and I got spirit back. So by just playing the game, by just hitting, attacking, and parrying, or deflects, you're going to build that spirit gauge up where you can then use spirit skills. Spirit skills are the ones tied in my right-hand corner there. You see how I press A? I have that as this attack right now. That's a spirit skill. That also uses spirit gauge. Now, spirit skills, if you look at your skill tree, are going to be the ones that are tied to different inputs. So as you see, there's an input tied on that one. If I wanted to grab this one, I would have to, well, I'd have to do this, and then you can select which input you want. So it's a pretty cool feature to be able to put whatever input you want on whatever skill you want. Another thing with Spirit is you can put these on your hotkey items called Small Spirit Ore. Small Spirit Ore will give you some Spirit. So if you use this, you're going to get some Spirit back. That's just a little quick thing you can do. And if you have these with them, Willpower Orbs, you can exchange spirit for health. So if you have your spirit built up, if you pop one of these in a boss fight, it'll actually fill your health bar almost all the way up. So really cool thing if you're running out of health in a boss fight. Now I did mention, Wulong Fallen Dynasty. In that game, when you run out of spirit, you basically are staggered because the spirit gauge is tied into the stagger gauge, and it's a little different here. Spirit gauge is not a stagger gauge, so you can run out of spirit completely and be just fine. Now the gray bar is your stamina gauge. Now if that goes all the way down to the bottom, then you get staggered, then you're open to getting attacked or whatever before it comes back, and then you'll have your full bar back again to be able to block and all that stuff. As you see, when you dodge, it's going to use stamina. Also, when you block enemy attacks, that will also use stamina. So just a typical stamina bar, nothing crazy there. You played Souls games, you guys know how stamina bars work. So now let's talk about dying to bosses, because that's going to happen a lot. Not going to lie, you're gonna die a lot in this game. This is a hard-ass game. But the cool thing is, this game though, when you die, your souls, or lacrima, that's what they're called in this game, is placed outside the boss arena. So let's say, this is the boss arena in there, obviously. Your lacrima, if you die, will be outside. So the cool thing is, too, in this game, is when you die to a boss, you get lacrima from your trial. So anytime you try a boss fight, you're gonna get more souls. So it's pretty sweet because, like, for instance, there's a boss in this game that I died to for over 2 hours, and I leveled up a total of like 15 times while trying to kill that boss, because every time you die, you're getting souls acquired for trying that boss. So it's a really cool system where you don't have to leave the boss and go farm out enemies and come back. You can just keep playing the boss, learn the boss, and at the same time be rewarded for that and continuing to level. So the worst thing that happens is you just keep dying to a boss over and over. You're eventually going to over level the boss so you can beat him. So no matter what, eventually, as long as you don't give up, you will beat the boss. Really, really cool feature that I just really enjoy about this game. Let's talk about fast travel, because this game does have a fast travel, but it is a little bit different than your typical fast travel from different various locations. Now, these are your bonfires in this game. When you see these, you can rest at these. You can't do a ton at these things, surprisingly. You can upgrade your stats, you can look at your phantom abilities, and you can look at Khazan's memories, just basically looking through stuff like that. And I don't want to show too much of that because that is spoilers, and I told you guys there'd be no spoilers. So I'm not going to even open that up. But you can't really do too much at these. You can't fast travel from these exactly. The way to fast travel is you come back to the crevice, which is your hub, and you go to this thing, basically this altar. Go to this altar, and then you can fast travel to any place in the game that you've already been at. So if you wanted to go back to the beginning area, the crash site, Blizzard Canyon, Frosty Cave entrance, you can go back to any of those places. So let's say if we wanted to go here to the Yeti's domain, we're just going to click on that, and then we're going to travel on out. So let's say you had wanted to go collect some stuff here you had missed, you saw some stuff online, and you were like, oh, I want to go get that. You can travel out here and get it. Just make sure and know that once you travel, though, it does make all the fast travels unopened again, though. So in order to, go back, you have to find one of these to be able to go back. You can't just pause the game and be like, all right, I'm going to teleport back to the crevice. You have to find one of these again. So if you go out exploring, just make sure and know to get back to the crevice, you do have to return back to one of these, and then whenever you get back, you can just go to one of these and then travel back. Something I do want to highlight, though, is there are some missions that have a purple thing wrapped around this once you summon this thing, open it up, I guess you could say. But if there's a purple thing around it, and it's like a purple glow, that is one that you cannot fast travel back out of. So I've had that happen in a few of the maps, but more often than not, you come across just the red ones without the purple on them, and you can fast travel with these. All you do is click on it, just go back to the crevice, and you can travel on out. The cool thing about fast travel too in this game is, let's say you're in a level and you're stuck on a boss and you want to just go back to base and do something, or level up equipment here at the blacksmith, something like that. You can do that and then go right back to where the boss was. So you can jump back and forth through levels, no problem. So you get to this one, you can jump back to the crevice, do other stuff, and come right back. Really cool how you can do that. You don't have to start the mission all over again. And also another thing here, you never have to do the mission all over again. Once you complete a mission, it's done. If I wanted to go back and to the very end of this mission, all I have to do is go back to the Yeti's domain. That would take me right back to the last place. So you no longer have to do whole missions over again. You can just, like if you're coming from Neo, for example, Neo, you had to do a whole mission over again. There's none of that. There's none of that. You can easily just go right to where you want to go. So fast travel's pretty great. Now on your journey, you're going to come across this girl named Defora. Now, it's not really a spoiler because you're going to run into her very early on. And she is going to allow you to level up your Soulstones. Now, we'll talk about Soulstones in one moment here, but by getting Soulstones, unleashing Soulstones, you have abilities to either Lacrima gain 2% or health recovery increase. Now, you'll be prompted through this throughout the game. The choice is yours. You could either have more souls for the enemies you defeat and the bosses you defeat, or you can have a health recovery increase by 2% permanent. So you can, as you see, as you go through the game, you can make your health higher with the increases of your health pots, or you can get more souls for enemies and bosses you defeat. The choice is yours. Highly recommend though you go health recovery increase. That is going to be the one that I 10 out of 10 times recommend going with, just because health recovery increase is very important in this game. You're going to want as much health, and the faster health and more percentages of health is good. So always go with health recovery increase. Now when we're talking about Soulstones, let's talk about what they are. We go back to the altar here. You can easily see how many Soulstones you need from each area. So you click on an area, in the very right side by region info, that little red dot, and it says 2 out of 2 collected, those are Soulstones. Each region is going to have Soulstones. And you can easily see if you go hover over an area. I don't want to hover over anyone because that's going to spoiler stuff. But you will see, though, that they tell you how much you need. So if it said 0 out of 2, you need to find 2 more to get them. Really cool thing is, if you're missing one, you could be like, all right, I'm going to go hunt. And sadly, though, it doesn't say which region it is. It's going to just give you 2 out of 2 for this entire region. So you might have to do the entire level over to find it. But Soulstones are very important. That's how you level up your health in this game. Now, finding these Soulstones, you have to go through each level, and look around for them. They're going to be usually in hidden places. In this, for instance, there's going to be one right up here. I already broke this so you can't see, but it's like a crystal, and it's going to be sticking out of the ground. And all you're going to do is go up and smack it. These will be hidden throughout each level, and it'll tell you, at the beginning of the level how many stones you have to find. And then once you find those, you can go back to Defora, and she will level up your health, or your soul increase, whichever you choose. But like I said, health is very important in this game. Now let's talk about armor sets, and why sets are important in this game. So as you see, if you look at my gear, I have a full set. I have the Executioner's Helm, Executioner's Pauldron, Executioner's Gauntlets, Executioner's Leggings, and Executioner's Combat Boots. Now under that, you can see what I get for that. So by wearing the full set, I am getting stamina damage increased by 15%, brutal attack health recovery by 10%, fire resistance 350, and brutal attack damage increase. Now let's say I was to take off one of these things and put on this. Then I'm going to get 4 of those. So I'm going to get everything up to fire resistance except for the brutal attack damage increase. So the point is to have as many sets as possible. Now you're going to acquire sets by just killing enemies, finding sets around the world. This game is RNG based. You're never going to get the same drops from every item, from every enemy. They're always going to be random. So one playthrough you might get these, one playthrough you might get these. It's just going to be randomly there for you. But the point is, choose ones with sets. You always want to basically wear stuff with sets, because you can really, this is something that I slept on for about 10 episodes into my Let's Play, and then I was like, okay, set bonuses are very important. So I started using things like Wanderer's Set, and dodge stamina cost decrease, plague resistance, enemy exhausted damage increase, rear assault damage increase for 10 seconds. Like, that kind of stuff is awesome, and it really makes a difference. So don't sleep on the stats bonuses. Look at the stats when you're going through the game, collecting sets. Make sure and note, like, okay, I'm collecting the defense unit legging, or that's a bad one. I'm collecting the Nomad's leggings. Okay, I'm going to collect the rest of the Nomad set. So I'm going to hunt that down. If I notice Nomad popping up on the side of my screen, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to add that to my set. Set bonuses will definitely help you out in this game. Pay attention to them. And when talking about sets, we have to talk about boss farming sets, because if you want his armor, guess what? All you do is have to fight him over and over again. That's right. All you have to do is travel through here, travel into the, you know, wherever the bosses you want to fight. If you wanted to fight him, you know, you'd go to Storm Pass, obviously. And you'd go back to the, I think it's Ice Canyon, one of these, Tempest Cliff, one of these. But anyway, you get with the point. You can fight bosses over and over again. Every time you fight the boss, it'll drop another piece of the set. So if you wanted to get his full set, you might have to fight him 5 or 6 times, but he might drop his entire set, and you can look awesome like that. I have not done that yet, but I definitely plan to eventually. And the cool thing is, too, you can also get boss weapon sets, too. So, for example, when I beat Blade Phantom, or one of the Blade Phantoms, he dropped the Soul Piercer Spear. Really, really cool looking spear, but it's up to you. If you want to farm for these sets, it's definitely going to make your life easier, because these the sets will increase your damage, they'll just increase recovery, all the kind of cool stuff. So definitely farm those sets if you want some cool extra bonuses, plus some cool extra drip. And the last thing I want to talk about today, guys, is practice. If you want to practice, which I highly recommend, go to Defora.
Do you need my assistance?
I do. And just ask her, enter training grounds. You can go into the training grounds, and this area is just awesome. Now, in the training grounds, it gives you a dummy. Now, the cool thing is, with the dummy, you can do all your math, you know. You can test different combos, see what's going to give you the best numbers, and all that kind of stuff. That's not the reason I'm telling you to practice, though. The reason to practice is if you hold down LB and press start, then you can change what you want to practice on. So I have done this several times. This is so freaking nice. Let's say there's an enemy in the game you're stuck on. Well, you can practice it. For instance, I'll tell you one enemy that I had the hardest time figuring out early on. And this thing I got irritated at. It's so stupid too, because it's just such an early on item, or early on enemy. But it was the undead. Let's go to the undead. And it was this dude, Renowned Warrior Shadow. This dude just, it took me forever to figure out how to beat this dude. It was just a wild enemy, and I just got irritated with him. But what you can do is you can put him in here, turn him offensive, obviously, auto recovery, turn that to enable, and then enter training grounds. And now he's going to load in your arch nemesis. Oh, maybe not. Did I not select him? I might have not selected him. Okay, there we go. Renowned Warrior Shadow, enable. Let's try this again. And for some reason, the game is just not working right. Okay, that was my bad. You have to click Start Training, not Enter Training Grounds. So once you make a change up here, make sure and change all your stuff the way you want it, and then click Start Training. So it's going to load him in, and then you can just practice it. You won't die in here either. So you can practice the parries, however you want to do this. Figure out how to attack him. The point here, though, is practice. If you're struggling with this game, the game gives you many ways of getting better. Between trying bosses over and over, to practicing enemies in this training ground, trying out different combos, all that kind of stuff. This is how you get better at the game. This is a game that just is hard, and the only way to get better is practice. And as you see, you know, this could be really addicting. You know, you can practice getting those parries perfectly. But just to get out of that, though, you can select any enemies you want, too. You can select a Dragonkin. You can select anything you find in the wild, you can bring into here. If you wanted to bring an archer in here, you could do that. If you wanted to, for some reason, bring an archer in here, you could do that. So you can practice timing your parries with the arrows, which I apparently can't do. There we go. So yeah, if you wanted to practice that even, you could. I mean, the game is honestly amazing to actually try. Basically great, you know, showing you how to get better. It's like, here, you want to get better at this game? Practice. We give you all the tools to do so. The training grounds is just an amazing area to be able to do that. So definitely utilize that to its full potential. Oh, and two, if you don't like the dark, gloomy area too while you practice, you can change it. You can change it to a distant memory of home. It's just the things this game gives you, man. It's awesome. I mean, look at this little Sekiro background. Okay, this is great. I can get my coffee in the morning and practice how to parry these, so I can parry these in every level from here on out. Just little things like this is just why this game is so good. They really thought of the player when making this. So, just cool things to try. Cool things to make your life a lot better and achieve that closer to expert status. But that's all I got for you today, guys. That's all I got. I am just really enjoying this game. This game is just... It's not my game of the year, I'd say, because there's just so many other games that came out, and Monster Hunter Wilds was so good, but it's a fantastic game. It's hard as nails. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I spent so much time on some bosses so far, and I'm only, you know, a good chunk of the way through. You know, 15, 16 hours in. So I'm still working my way through the campaign myself. The Let's Play is going live this Monday at noon. That's gonna start then. You're gonna get an episode every day, so make sure and subscribe to that. But I hope this guide helped you out at least a little bit, gave you a little bit more confidence with this, because this game is really fun. Definitely recommend it, but it is hard. But I know you guys can do it. But if you guys like this video, give it a like. Subscribe for the channel for more Let's Plays and guides and walkthroughs. I might be doing a walkthrough of this guide later on, just like I have for some other Souls games, so stay tuned for that. But we'll see you guys next time. Stay strong.